up, doing its magic, and then I think we just went live. Hello, everybody. Dr. Ricky T here. I am going to go over to Instagram and have it go live there. Bear with me a moment. The technology is amazing. So, good morning, everybody. If you're watching on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or all the various channels, isn't it remarkable? All the various channels we can be on these days. I remember as a kid, I always wanted to be on, TV, and there's only I think as a kid, when I was little, we had like 3 channels. We had 3 channels on our television. You remember the TV channels? By the way, the channel changer would break. I don't know if I'm showing my age. And we had a pair of pliers that actually we would use to turn the channel because the plastic part would break. Anyway, that's just me just riffing on my younger years. There were 3 channels in my town in New Jersey at the time. And now we have 45 million choices on where to show up. Isn't that amazing? I actually think that's amazing. Some people think it's overwhelming. I find it amazing. I find it fascinating and amazing that the technology and the creativity of the human spirit has created so many ways and places for us to show up and share some stuff and put our work into the world and all that good stuff. So you guys know that's what I'm all about. I wrote a book called Play Your Bigger Game. We're not going to talk about that today too much, but we are going to talk about another favorite book of mine, which will become part of a class. Little bit of a foreshadowing moment. If you're on my email list, be on the lookout for an email soon about a class that I'm going to do about money. But one of my favorite books, just a little thing about books, I'm reading probably 4 books at the same time. I don't read any novels. I'm a complete personal growth, spiritual growth, leadership development guy. I love reading those books, can't get enough of them. And I read like 3 or 4 at the same time. And I read like a page or 2 in the morning, a page or 2 at night, right? Once in a blue moon, one will grab me and I just can't put it down. This was one of those. So I may have referred to it before. I'm doing it again today. It's called A Happy Pocket Full of Money, Infinite Wealth and Abundance in the Here and Now by David Cameron Gikandi, I think is how I say his name. So Saxley, I'm not sure how to say his name. That's how I'm saying it. So if I got it wrong and somebody knows, please let me know. Okay, so this is a remarkable book around, of course, consciousness and your awareness and inner beliefs. But it's all really, it's also very practical, tactical. There's tools, there's strategies, there's doing, there's being. But today I just wanted to underline a phrase that he uses or a term that he uses, which I find really interesting. So the term, just to give it some context, you know what? Let me just take a big deep breath. Going a little fast this morning. So if you're with me or you watch later, just take a big deep breath. Okay, let's take a big deep breath together. And yeah. Hello, Lori. Good morning, Kami and David. Morning. So actually, let's just slow it all down for a second. If you're watching right now live, hello, welcome. If you watch later, sometimes we get a little ahead of ourselves with the content and the concepts. We just need to slow it all down. I can feel it in me this morning. I have to get in the car later. It doesn't matter my life today. You don't care about my life today. What we do care about is slowing it all down, getting a bit grounded. And I want to offer this perspective is that whatever circumstances are going on in your life, what I know for you is that they are on some level serving you. That might be challenging. I don't know all your circumstances, but if you can get really high enough and meta view enough to look at them from a, how is this growing me? How is this expanding me? How is this advancing me in some way, shape, or form? It's an interesting way to look at challenging circumstances. But that classic, what's the learning? So, okay, good. So let me go to this concept that David talks about in this great book. And the term is called a sponsoring thought, a sponsoring thought. So we have thoughts. I'm going to read in a second, but just to give it some context. Hang on, I'm going to cough again. Excuse me. A sponsoring thought is the thought behind the thought, right? Who sponsored that thought? Isn't that an interesting question? Who sponsored the thought I'm having now? It's many times we don't think like that. We just think we have a thought. I'm having the thought instead of like, okay, wait a minute, where's that sponsoring? The behind the curtain thought, right? The thought is sort of on stage, and then what's the thought behind the curtain? Okay, so let me read a little bit of this, and then I'll chat about it. You can comment on it. You can ask questions about it in Facebook if you want, or comment or consider this for your day. So previous, excuse me, oh my God, I'm already off the wrong word here. And let me take a breath. Present results are the effects of previous thoughts. Present results are the effects of previous thoughts. In other words, when you look at the world today, you're actually looking at yourself as you were yesterday. These are these sentences you have to read a couple times because it's like, what? So in other words, when you look at the world today, you're actually looking at yourself as you were yesterday. Hello, William. Welcome. The world at any present moment of now, and he has the word now capitalized N, the world at any present moment of now reflects your thoughts and states of being before the present moment of now. This is where it gets really interesting. It is all an illusion. Use it as the illusion that it is, and you will live wonderfully and richly. It's fascinating when you really step back and you realize that today my now is an illusion that was created by my thought from yesterday, right? Then he goes on to this concept of a sponsoring thought. There is such a thing as a sponsoring thought, a thought behind the thought. And a sponsoring thought has more creative force than a sponsored thought. Isn't that interesting? And a sponsoring thought has more creative force than a sponsored thought, meaning the sponsored thought is the one I'm having right now. The sponsoring thought is the one behind. What we normally call thought is actually sponsored thought. I know this is sort of like your brain goes like, wait, hang on. What we normally call a thought is actually sponsored thought. Again, behind the curtain. Think of it as the metaphor of behind the curtain. The stage I'm on is the thought I'm having, and then the sponsoring thought is the one behind the curtain. Look at your thoughts closely. They have a sponsor, a cause. If you think you need to eat food, that thought was a cause behind it, a sponsoring thought, in this case, the belief that you are hungry. So the sponsoring thought is, I'm hungry. The thought then is, I need to eat. That's on the stage. Sponsoring thought behind the curtain. Start becoming aware of these sponsoring thoughts. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. They come from your subconscious mind, or what some people call the heart. What I love is that he has actually blended subconscious mind with heart. I find that brilliant, by the way. Sponsoring thought reflects what you truly believe in and hold true. It is your subconscious programming. If your thought and sponsoring thought over something are uncoordinated, if they do not agree, the sponsoring thought wins. Okay, I got to read that one again. This is so good. This is about a confused universe doesn't know what to do because you're confused. I'll talk about that in a minute. If your thought, the one on the stage, and your sponsoring thought, the one behind the curtain, over something, a topic, situation, are uncoordinated, meaning out of alignment, if they do not agree, the sponsoring thought wins. The one behind the curtain will win. This is why people who pray to God begging for something never get their prayers answered, because their sponsoring thoughts express not having or lacking. Be aware of and correct your sponsoring thoughts. It's really, I mean, it's so interesting to consider what's the behind the curtain thought that is generating the thought that I'm having now. So this, he writes in such a beautiful way. He connects dots that I never thought about. I'm always open to new ways to thinking about things. This is one of those topics that most of us, if you're in my world or you're following me, you've been on my classes, you're a client, you've been hanging out with me. Yeah, we go behind the curtain a lot, right? What's the real deal? That's what's creating this situation that I have, or this life that I'm leading, or this business I have, or whatever it is. And I want to add to the mix that for many of us, the sponsoring thought is not ours. The sponsoring thought is not mine. It's an inherited sponsoring thought that has influenced my today thoughts. This is the work. This is, dare I say, this is the inner work. And I believe in the inner work of working with a really good therapist and understanding where my fear comes from, where my doubt comes from, where my worry comes from. Where does that stuff come from? Because it's in there. We all have it. And many of us have to do the inner work. I believe in going into the unconscious, because he talks about it here. David talks about it. It lives in the subconscious. By the way, subconscious, unconscious, cousins for me, right? Like there's the unconscious, not even aware of it. Subconscious is you can start to get at it because it lives deep in the ethers of one's mind. So just consider, and without making anybody wrong, no blaming or shaming, is what are the sponsoring thoughts that are not mine? That are not mine. They have been in the collective, I'm going to use more jargon here. They've been in the collective consciousness of my family system, of my area that I grew up in, of my country. We start to lean into the collective consciousness, and we start to believe it because I'm swimming in that force field of a belief. And I can either align with it or not. This is obvious to all of you if you're listening to this. So feel free to write a comment in here about this. How might this serve you? But I wanted to share today. First of all, I'm going to do a deep dive class in this starting in January. This is a little foreshadowing moment. It's only October, but I'm going to go deep into this book and deep into these ideas. And I'm excited to do a money class, quote unquote, or a money consciousness class and a money strategy class. I've never done one before. I've always wanted to in my years of personal growth and development. And I thought it's time. So, sorry, I should turn these off on my desktop, right? There's a little email pops in. Well, anyway, client reaching out, which is cool. So, beliefs and sponsoring thoughts. Sponsoring thoughts and beliefs for me are, sort of related. But I want you to really consider this metaphor of what's got your attention is being on stage, right? You're on stage, meaning the metaphor, right? I'm on stage. This one's grabbed my attention, and it's getting a lot of attention. When you're on stage, right? You want attention. You're doing your thing on stage. So think about your life as you're on stage. And then there's the behind the curtain. And sometimes there's a behind the curtain. There's like a double layer. And just really slow it down today. Think about it. Ask yourself the question, what is the sponsoring thought? And then add to it. And he doesn't do it. David doesn't do it, but I'm going to add to it. Who's sponsoring that thought? Who's the sponsor? Who paid for that ad? Who paid for that thought? And that's just a really interesting way to unpack one's life, and to go behind the curtain and just go, what is the sponsoring thought? Let yourself consider it, and then go, who is the sponsor of that thought, without any blame or shame. And that's the thing. We love to sort of like blame and the family and the parents and the situation and that whole, instead of like, oh, I see. I grabbed a belief system. I grabbed a philosophy. I grabbed something that actually is not mine. I've decided to grab some things that I do like and I align with them. But be open to what is your core beliefs. A lot of the things we do with our clients in our year-long program is we really get at core beliefs. What are your core beliefs about how life works? What are your core beliefs about relationships? What are your core beliefs about money? You can fill in the blank, but when you get the core belief stuff, is the behind the curtain. Those are the sponsoring thoughts, because that core belief informs the current level of what do I know today. And I love that he says it, and I know most of us know this, but boy, I need to be reminded of this all the time. Is my today is based on my thoughts from yesterday. My experience today, my reality today is been sponsored by my yesterday, right? And my tomorrow will be sponsored by today. Isn't that an interesting way to live life? So maybe the way to say this is we just need to get better sponsors who really support us and will pay us, because if you think about it that way, it's like, wow, I need better sponsors. And, sometimes, by the way, at my events, we have sponsors, right? And they do show up and I have them sponsor. So it's an interesting way to think about the life we have, is to look at it through this metaphor of who's sponsoring your thoughts and who's sponsoring your life. So there you go, everybody. That's the topic of the day, sponsoring thoughts. Thank you, David, for this. David Cameron Gikandi. I need to look up. I'm going to actually go look online, and I know somebody has said his name out loud, so I make sure I say his name out loud. So there you go. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jocelyn is reminding me. So many of you know I do these free training calls. I am doing a call Jocelyn, you have to remind me the time. I have this amazing person in my world who keeps me focused on the times. It's this week, right? Yeah, there it is. I just saw it. So this Thursday, October 31st, I'm doing a call about the positive. It's actually about the positivity of Trader Joe's and how Trader Joe's is an American grocery store, incredibly successful. If you know what Trader Joe's is or who it is or what it's about, you go into a Trader Joe's, it's like the Disneyland of, it's the happiest place on earth, mostly. And I'm going to talk about that from a leadership context. How do they create that? How does that happen? What do they do? Because it's just food, right? It's their food, but it's just food. So this is one of my pop-up calls. And it was a homework assignment that I gave my participants in a 2-day training I did last week. I gave everybody the assignment of coming up with a training call based on something that you love. I love Trader Joe's. I love Trader Joe's. So I'm going to do a leadership learning, a life learning call based on the success of Trader Joe's. That's October 31st, 1 o'clock Pacific time. The way to register, ricktamlin.com/Trader-Joe's. Right? If you're on my email list, you'll be getting this is in an email. Free call, right? And if you're in the leadership development space, you're in the life coaching space, or you're in the personal development space, or you're in the team development space, any space of, if you're in my world, you're in the transformational space on some level. I know you will go away with some handles that you can use from this learning that I've created out of Trader Joe's. And by the way, you guys know me enough. I don't have it all figured out. I'm such a fan of you put the name of the call on the calendar, what it's about, basically, and then the content and the concepts will find me. I so believe in that concept. It's very big magic. It's like, here's what I'm doing. Oh, universe, give me some content, give me some concepts. And they start to show up. Most of us think the opposite. I need to have all the content and all the concepts and everything ready to go weeks in advance. Then I'll tell the world about it. I'm a fan of put it on the calendar, a topic or a call that has got your imagination, and then let the downloads begin. So I have a couple, but this is a week away, so even longer. So come join me, free pop-up call. I call them pop-up calls, pop up in the mall, pop up online. ricktamlin.com/trader-joe's. We'll see you there. So is there something in the chat? Yeah, no, Jocelyn was telling me the time. Okay. Everybody take a big deep breath. If you're still with me, yay. And if you're watching later, yay. I hope this conversation has served you a bit. It really wasn't a conversation. It was me talking. But I hope it actually started to open up some possibility for you to just catch it a little bit in your day and slow it down just a little bit and notice the sponsoring thought, because noticing is 99% is the path to changing things. Just to notice it. You don't always have to have the fix, but awareness of something starts to change it. So notice your sponsoring thoughts. Noticing what's behind the curtain, noticing who's sponsoring this thought. Catch it, notice it, set it down, release it, bless it, whatever you want to do. One thing you don't want to do is get too mad at it or be angry with it. That just actually adds drama to it. Just let it go. Be grateful that you had it and your awareness of this, and then release. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. I do this every Wednesday at about 8:30 a.m. Pacific time on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And also want to be really transparent. A lot of these are becoming, if you're in the transformational space and you're putting work into the world like this and you're doing things like this, these things become content creators for other things. You can repurpose them. I'll do another call about repurposing your brilliance and your wisdom in other ways, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So, because I will say that this, I've borrowed a concept, I brought it to life, right? By the way, oh yeah, I should put, Justin, will you put in the chat the name of this book for people to go grab it if they want? A Happy Pocket Full of Money, because I want to do a shout out to that. So thank you. What was I saying about? I was talking about. Oh yeah, the repurposing of things. I don't know it exactly if this is going to turn into this, but I have a future book coming, or maybe two. These kinds of calls, I transcribe them, I turn them into copy. It's a lot of stuff that needs to go away because I can ramble a bit, but then the concepts kind of come out, and many times they'll become chapters, or they'll become a doorway into a chapter. So for those of you that are trying to write a book, I'm a fan of talk, and the book will reveal itself in your talking. Now, I'm an extrovert. That's how I create. I can never sit down and just write. I have to talk it, and it finds its way out. So, all right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. I'm now over talking. Have a great rest of your day. Breathe. Take a big, deep breath. What I know for your day is that it is unfolding perfectly for you. That's what I know. That's what I know. Be on the lookout for your sponsoring thoughts. Keep the ones that serve, let the ones that don't go. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. I'm going to do the stomping thing on Instagram first. There we go. Okay, everybody, take care.